Hi everyone, in this video we're gonna dive into Houdini and we're gonna create various cone shapes, meshes, including the vertex colors and the automated UVs as well. As you can see here, I've got this spell I'm working on for my Patreon, and this attack actually got this, it comes from the hand of this character outwards in this cone shape. Okay, and I think it's a very effective way to create this sort of wave attacks. However, you might want to tweak the cone, for example, to be 45-degree angle, 90 or even 180. And I want to show you my setup in Houdini, how I created those meshes. Maybe you'll learn something from it, or maybe it's going to help you with your Houdini journey. Alright, so let's dive into Houdini now. There's probably many ways to create this cone shape in Houdini, however I just want to show you my approach. So I'm going to start with geometry node. Right here I'm going to call this cone gen. Dive inside and I'm going to start with line with the default settings. I'm going to press space NF and it's going to just frame this line. Next I'm going to use cylinder. Lap cylinder generator. I'm gonna activate this one, and for the outer radius I'm just gonna pull that back down to 0. Next I'm gonna use transform to scale this down to 0 on one axis, and we're getting this flat rounded plane. Next I want to get rid of the bits from the middle. So what I'm gonna use a group node for this. I'm gonna call this center. And I'm gonna select boundings regions, but instead of boundings box, I'm gonna select bounding sphere. I'm gonna activate the group. And now I'm just gonna scale this to 0.2. As you can see, nothing is selected, so I'm gonna go back to my cylinder and I'm just gonna increase the subdivisions. If you want this to be displayed on a previous geometry, you might just increase this scale in your group. Right, next I'm just going to use delete node activated, and in here I'm just going to select this center group and it's just going to delete that middle part. Right, so next is the UVs. So let's create some basic UVs for this. So I'm gonna dive and try to get UV transform. There it is, activated, and right here you can just click on set view UV viewport. And as you can see, this is the bit that it's missing. The UV has been automatically generated by this cylinder generator node, but we're missing that bit because we deleted. So instead of scaling this manually, what you could do, you could just go to scale on X and Y and type this expression 1/$ size X, and in here on the Y you type 1/$ size Y. As you can see, what it's going to do is going to scale those UVs to match the UV grid from 0 to 1. Cool, so now let's go back to our perspective view. If you go back to cylinder now, you can just change this arc end. So for example, if you want 45-degree or 90-degree, it's pretty accurate in that way. So that's the bonus or benefit of using this technique. Right, so next I actually want to create some gradient for my vertices. For the color vertexes, so I'm just gonna press tab and start typing gradient. Lapse color gradient. I'm gonna activate it, and I'm just gonna drag the white bit here to maybe 0.2, another click here and 0.8, and at the end I just want a black color. So I'm just gonna 0 values on the color. And as you can see, we got this gradient now on our vertices. So basically we can have a smooth transition. It kind of serves like an alpha. So instead of having an alpha texture, you can have the vertex color applied here, and you can pan the texture across this mesh using the vertex color, because the vertex color is gonna fade out your texture and it's gonna look like a soft alpha. You can experiment with those values here. So for example, it might be a good idea to actually have the black on 0.02 and same in here, 0.92. 0.92, maybe 5, and you get a bit more black color here on those edges. And the only problem I've got with this technique is actually I could not figure out how to make the vertex color on the sides here. So with this technique, we're just gonna run without the vertex color on the side. However, I'm gonna show you another technique in a minute, how to create another cone plane with the vertex colors on the sides as well. Right, so I think we got a little bit too much geo there, so it might be a good idea to go back now and tweak it to your needs. And the next bit, I'm just gonna use transform, because I want this to be actually facing the x-axis always. When it doesn't matter if I'm gonna put like 90-degree angle, 90 degree on that cone. I just want this to face always the x-axis and be exactly on the middle. So I'm just gonna select transform. In transform, I'm gonna go back to cylinder and grab this parameter. So right click and copy parameter. Go back to transform here. Let's find the axis. So it's actually this one, and I'm gonna paste this here. Press enter. As you can see, it doesn't do what we want, so I'm just gonna add minus at the start because I wanna put this on a minus value, and at the end I'm just gonna divide it by 2, and it's gonna place this exactly in the middle. So now if you go to your cylinder, for example, and increase it, you can see it stays in the middle and faces the x-axis. Okay, so if you want a 45-degree angle, 90, 120, the only bit you have to do manually would be to tweak the segments. Okay, and now if you just want to align it a little bit better, you can bring axis, let me try again, axis align node, and in here justify X, make it to max or min, and it's gonna place this exactly on this axis. Okay, so the pivot will be correct when you import that into the game engine. Right, so that's the one cone, and let's try the other one. So I'm gonna start with a grid. I'm gonna just run with the default settings for now. I want some basic UVs as well, so I'm gonna bring UV project and actually want this from the start. I'm gonna press space and F to frame it. I'm gonna bring transform as well. And on transform, let's maybe leave it at default for now. Right, so now it's the time actually to bring the vertex colors. So I'm gonna press tab, start typing gradient. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna activate the node so I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm gonna change the axis to X. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring this to 0.2. Another one to 0.8, and at the end I'm just gonna have 0, 0, 0. Right, the next bit is I'm actually gonna select this, copy, paste, connect it, and in here I'm just gonna change the axis to be on Z, and I'm gonna change the operation to be multiply. So as you can see, we're getting now the outline to be vertex colored. Right, so now let's use this bend modifier, and in bend I actually want to deform in both directions. Let's try maybe angle to be 45 for now. And I'm gonna change the up vector. And capture direction, I'm gonna set it to 5. Because you can see here we've got 5 and -5, so we want this to run across the length of this grid. Right, so as you can see, it seems broken. So now go back to this transform that we've created here, and what we could do, we can just change the X values here. I'm gonna go back to bend and actually put 90 degree angle. And in here, I'm just gonna tweak it just a little bit. I'm gonna keep playing with this value, so maybe minus 2.5. Gonna go back to bend, and actually I've selected capture length to 4 rather than 5, so I'm just gonna change it back to 5. And we're getting this. Right, so the issue with this is I couldn't figure out the way how you can precisely give the angle for the cone. Okay, so it's a little bit intuitive, however you get the vertex colors on all of the edges. So in here you might change it to 5, and that's how you're actually tweaking the cone angle. You might want to decrease or increase the resolution on the mesh itself. And in here also, just you have to increase it manually to get the angle that you want. And that's the disadvantage of using this technique. But let's maybe tidy up this a bit. So I'm gonna use axis align and justify X min max. And now I want this to be rotated. So I'm just gonna bring transform. Here I'm just gonna put 180, activate the node. And that's what we get. Let's select our previous one, and let's maybe match the scale of it as well. Okay, so this one goes to 10, so I'm gonna bring another transform here. Actually, we can use the previous transform. Let's put 5, 10, so it's roughly the same. This one's slightly longer. So now, for example, if you set this to a 90 degree angle and reference it, select this one once, so you can roughly get the idea how to get a 90 degree angle. So again, it depends what you want. And also I'm just gonna create another node for export. It will be transform here, and I'm just gonna put 50 for the scale. I think SideFX recommends 100 if you're exporting this to engine. I like to stay in the middle and actually export my meshes with 50 scale. Okay, just plug this in. Obviously it's gonna get much larger, but it's gonna maintain its pivot point. That's the most important part. Okay, so 2 different techniques to get this cone. It depends what you want. If you actually want the vertex color on the sides, then use this technique. Otherwise, just stick with this one because you get a lot more accurate cone angles. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this one. If I'll figure out the better way, or if you know a better way how to generate this, please do let me know, because I did struggle a little bit to get this cone, especially with the vertex colors on the side. So that was the only way I've been able to come up with this technique. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you know better way to generate those. But I think I really need the vertex colors on the side because I don't want to use additional texture to drive the alpha. Alright, thanks.